Three, two, one. This is test video number 2. So welcome back to the 4G for IoT training course. We're now straight into chapter 2, understanding 4G, the fundamentals everyone should know. The goal here is to explain enough about how 4G works, the technology, and enough about the architecture and how the different components work, just enough for you to be able to understand how to fix problems and solve things. There is no academic content here for the sake of academic content. This is the absolute minimum for you to be able to actually really take control to the maximum ability that is possible on mobile networks. So this is the classic 4G network architecture diagram. It may seem a little bit overwhelming at first, but when you break it down, you explain the bits, it's really not that challenging. So do bear with us. So let's start on the left-hand end. Whenever in 4G you see UE, UE means user equipment, and it quite literally means the user equipment that the user connects to the network. And throughout, we give an example of a 4G router and a mobile handset, because they are classic devices that are connected to 4G. The antennas from the UE can talk directly a phenomenal radio protocol that we will come on to a little later, OFDMA with QAM modulation. All sounds very scary, but it's there is a way to break it down to more accessible. And so the E node B then effectively converts the radio signal back to a wired signal. And then you can see this kind of split. So down at the bottom, that's where your data goes. It goes through the S gateway, the P gateway, goes to the internet, and it goes to your application server. The bit that can be a little bit more confusing is the connection to the MME and the HSS. And we'll come onto these shortly. You'll hear people talking about the core network. So the UE clearly is at the edge. The E node B are distributed all over the country because you need a cell tower, you need the radio antennas to be all over the place. But everything you see in that box there is considered the core network. Another phrase you'll hear come up is the control plane. And that's a nice and complicated way of just saying the bits that make everything happen. So for the most part, the device at the edge, the UE, will talk directly to the MME. And so they have their own language where if the device wants to do something, it tells the MME, and the MME in the background helps to facilitate everything. So that really is the ethos of the control plane. Heavily tied in with the MME is the HSS, the home subscriber server. And I think a really nice, friendly way of understanding that is the SIM identity vault for the network. So the massive security considerations in mobile networks. And so when your device wants to attach to the network, it has a SIM card, it reads values from that SIM, it presents them to the MME, and the MME says, well, what have we got on file for this SIM card? And it's all done with cryptographic technologies. And so next time you hear someone talk about the control plane in cellular comms or 4G, that's what they're describing. Now the user plane is even more self-evident. You send some data from the UE, it goes through the E node B, through the serving gateway, through the packet gateway, onto the internet, and goes to your application server in the cloud or wherever it might be. So that's the user plane. And if you really wanted to simplify it, you could just say it's just one long Ethernet cable. It just transmits TCP/IP from one place to another and back again. So again, the user plane can sound complex when buried in 4G parlance, but put in those terms, really trivial. So the serving gateway also has another term. It's called the mobility anchor. And I think that's a brilliant terminology because it gives you this idea of needing a fixed point in the network. So imagine you're driving a car along the motorway at 100 kilometers an hour. You are going to pass by eNode Bs or cell towers quite quickly. You're going to go from one cell tower to the next, to the next, to the next. And a process called handover will pass you on that, seamlessly pass you on that process. But with those changing all the time, you need a fixed reference, and that is the S gateway. And the mobility anchor is a wonderful sort of gives a visual reference to that terminology. And the P gateway or packet gateway is the gateway to external networks. And by far the most obvious and the most common P gateway is the one that takes you to the internet. That is the very large external network that the majority of traffic goes to. Now, we have an entire section on roaming, but this is a great time to introduce how roaming works in the context of blah, blah, blah. Anyway. So we've got lots of content. I'm just going to introduce some practical concepts about roaming. And so that will do for that.